All right, so welcome back, everybody. We're joined today by Ole Bjerd,
Ole
and that's not
Bjerd.
his name.
It's
Ole
it's Ole
Bjerd.
Bjerd. Yeah. It's close enough. Yeah.
But anyway, we're super happy and super honored to be joined by Ole today, and we're here to. He's written a couple books. We're going to talk about that. But Ole, you're a philosopher, I would say. Is that a correct generalization of kind of your role?
It is kind of it is kind of it's kind of my it's how I identify myself as you're supposed to say today, but I'm really trained as a sociologist originally, but like the two disciplines are close. I think what I always felt that there was more sort of to philosophy. It was more like sort of to the point. But what I have kept from sociology is this sort of looking at the world, where sometimes philosophy can get a little bit sort of inward looking. So I'm interested. That's, if you look at my research, it's also always about something. It's about money. It's about poker. It's about addiction. It's about being a man and so forth. So and then I'm also into economics. I can also fake being an economist as well. So, but anyway, philosophy. That's good enough. Yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. So we're super happy to be speaking with you today, and maybe we can just kick it off a little bit.
Yeah.
If you want to tell us, like, when you started, maybe in high school, were you in? First of all, I should say Ole's joining us from Denmark, and I'm guessing you grew up in Denmark as well.
I did.
So yeah, maybe just tell us a little bit about, like, in high school, did you get into philosophy, or were you like, no, I want to be a engineer or a fireman? A fireman's big here, but
I think the earliest recollection I have of wanting to be something was, I think it was in 8th grade. I wanted to be a banker, not because I wanted a lot of money. It was just because there was a guy in our local. I grew up in this small little town called Lykken, where I'm actually moving back to. And there was a guy in the bank, and he always looked so happy. So I thought, I want to be a bank. I want to be happy like this guy. So, and then I kind of took and in a way, I sort of kind of came back to this banking thing, because one of the things I've been researching a lot is exactly money and banking. So in a way, I haven't become a banker yet. I doubt that I will be, but I did get back to this money thing. I don't know where this philosophy thing, when that kicked in. I don't know. To me, philosophy is about sort of asking very fundamental questions, and I think I've probably always been into that. So in that sense, I've always sort of had that had that inclination. So
right on. So then you come out of high school and you're like, I'm going to university and I want to study sociology.
Yeah. I actually went to a, I think you would call it like a business high school.
Okay.
And I was quite happy with that. And then after that, I took a couple of years off traveling, and then I was thinking of going into philosophy, but I had this. I think already at the time I was like, no, I wanted to do something where I could actually study stuff out in the world. I think I had that thing in me already at that time. So that's why I went for sociology rather than philosophy. And then at the time there was also this narrative, which probably was true, that if you study philosophy, you would never get a job. Whereas sociology, I could kind of see that you could use that in all kinds of other contexts. So so that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, and then I guess you kind of go through college. Now you're a university professor, correct? So you obviously stuck with it right to the end. So,
well, in a way, I'm right now, right as we speak, I'm in the process of being fired from my work because I'm not complying with the corona I don't want to push the corona restrictions onto my students. I've refused to do that. So and they're in the process of kicking me out. So that's how it is. So, but up until at least until the end of this week, yes, I am an associate professor in philosophy and economics at the Copenhagen Business School. So, and I've been really happy about that. So this field like philosophy and economics has been like, it's been like sort of just a intellectual playground for me. So I could just, research whatever I wanted to. Like my most recent book is about men, and before that it was money and banking and monetary policy. I've been writing about conspiracy theories, Bitcoin. I've written a book about poker, addiction, ethics. One more book, I think, something about growth and sustainability, and so for me, it's been really nice to just be able to go in whatever direction I wanted to.
Right, man. I kind of want to talk about all those things, but maybe we should just pick one of them and get right into it. Ben can kind of talk about this too, as just, well, we talk a lot, we're brothers, and we've had different like discussions at different times about, I'll talk about money first, if that's all right. Money and value. And Ben has a lot of like, I say, Ben, you're generally more creative than I am. And like we have this discussion about value sometimes. And like, I'll look at someone just to pull a figure out, like Gary V. I don't know if you know Gary V. He's like sort of influencer type, but I'll look at, or let's say, just say an Instagram influencer. It's a bit different, but I'll look at something like that and be like, you're just like, you're tricking people, and then you're selling the fact that you're able to trick people, and that's value. So you're selling value in that way. And then Ben will come back and be like, no, like that's real value in a sense, because you're selling, advertising and philosophy. But I have this kind of thing where I'm just like a little bit rigid about what value is and whatnot. Ben, I don't know if you want to add to that. It's a bit of a random question, but I think it relates back to money because we're trying to talk about value. But
I mean, the one thing that I'll just jump in and add is, I think especially as our economy changes so much and kind of the job landscape changes, one thing we've talked about a lot are the different ways to monetize things, the different kind of career paths you can take, and then obviously with the internet, just the different ways we are kind of the different ways people can make money, and sometimes the value is not as easily kind of categorized as maybe it was traditionally. I think more and more it's maybe it's hard to understand. I think that not that value itself is changing, but how it kind of manifests in these ways. So another example, there's all, you just made an online course, which is awesome. The online course sort of industry is blowing up, and I'm very kind of interested in that as well. And I studied education, but just to kind of give some more context to Pete's question, it's something that I get excited about and want to be a part of, and Pete kind of challenges me on that, saying, we have to make, is this stuff legitimate? And obviously some of it is and some of it isn't. But anyways, just to comment on that. But I'd love to hear and I have not read your book on money, but I'd love to hear how you approach the
that's fine.
topic.
I think first of all, I think it's one of the things I discovered as I sort of moved into this field of economics, started studying economics, is that I found out that economists, no one really knows what money is, or what value is. Value is this elusive thing. So, and it's in many ways, it's at the heart of the discipline of economics, is to ask questions about what is value, or where does value come from. And this question, it's every economist or every economic school has its own answer to this question. So for instance, like the Adam Smith, like the founder of modern macroeconomics, he would say, well, value comes from the interaction between capital and labor. That's kind of where it's coming from. And before him, there was like a school of thought called the Fishercrats, and they would say, no, value comes from the land. It's like whatever we pull out of the earth that we can eat and do stuff with. And so throughout the history of economics, there's been different answers to this question. Something that happened in the 20th century with sort of, we could call it neoclassical economics, is that this question of value kind of disappeared. So they stopped asking that question, and instead they just assumed that whatever people were willing to pay money for had value. So they would just substitute the concept of value with the concept of price. So the value of something is the price of something. And it's not, I mean, in some respects, that's kind of, you can say that price is a good approximation of value if you have a well-functioning market. However, I think what's happening, what we're seeing today and what has been going on for the last 3 or 4 decades, and what I'm also seeing is, I think our economy is right at the brink of a we are in the midst of a form of a collapse. That's what's going on right now. And I think the collapse is coming from the fact that value and price has become more and more sort of disconnected from each other. So, so you'll have prices in the market. If you look at the housing market, we just had our apartment valued, and it was, the amount was like absurd. So so there's like so the markets are not functioning insofar as they're not like sort of, they're not accurate expressions of value. At the same time, there's also been a tendency that we as human beings, to some extent, we've lost our ability to kind of assess the value of things as disconnected from price. So we've also used price as an approximation. So like, what is a meaningful job? Well, a meaningful job is one that pays a lot of money, because we've lost touch with our hearts and our stomach. So we can't feel the value of a job or the meaning of a job. So we use the salary as a substitute for it, because that's easy. So that's happening on the one hand, but you can only go so far with this. You can only disconnect money and value to a certain extent, and then at some point it collapses. And that's a good thing. That's what's happening right now, and it's a good thing. It's happening out in the economy, but it's also happening inside people. I don't know how many people you know right now who find that their job is meaningless. Some of them are even ill. People are getting sick from working. And that's because what they're doing is meaningless. It has no value. They're getting paid, so they think it's valuable, but it's not. It's not valuable. They've lost that kind of sense, but it's coming back to people right now. That's one of the good things that's come out of this whole Corona thing, is that people are becoming more sort of, I almost want to say they're becoming more sort of spiritually sensitive. So they can sense something's wrong here. Their heart is kind of telling them, no, this work, it's meaningless. And their head is still struggling. No, I have to feed the family, blah, blah, blah. I have to pay the mortgage. They're still there. But the heart is much stronger than the head. The heart is winning this thing. So that's the good thing. But right now, a lot of people are really struggling with this, and they become ill. And so you see a lot of people that are confused and all that stuff. So I think we're coming back to, and I think we're also going to see, and it's coming already, we're going to see a new monetary system, because the old one has failed miserably, and it's going to collapse very soon. And then what we're going to see are a lot of other systems that are going to take over. And I think right now, everyone is looking at cryptocurrencies, and I'm sure that some of these not all of them, but some of these cryptocurrencies, they're going to be part of the new economy. But the cryptocurrencies that are going to survive in this survival of the fittest cryptocurrencies, and it's not just going to be one, there's going to be multiple, but the ones that are going to survive are the ones that are able to can reconnect price and value. And value is, that's also the beauty of the combination of philosophy and economics. On the one hand, we have value is something we know from economics, but value is also something we know from philosophy. So value is also close to like meaning, or our values, like our personal values. So I also think that the cryptocurrencies that are going to be the ones that are going to shape the future are the ones that incarnate healthy values in a way. and I don't mean just like economic values, but also moral values. That's what got me into Bitcoin in the first place. Was that I could sense this sort of, there's something about sovereignty here. There's a value of sovereignty built into this system. I like that. I want to get into that. And I didn't get into it to be rich or anything. I got in because I could recognize this sort of, there's a value here. And some of the others also incarnate. And then there's some that don't have anything. They're just like, people want to get rich. They're going to die. They have no future. But the other ones, they have a future. So I think the time we're moving into right now is one where price, sort of monetary expression of value and value itself, is going to be reconnected. And it's going to be beautiful and yeah, really, really nice. So that's a long, I'm in my summer house right now, and I'm alone. So I haven't talked to anyone for the whole day. So that's why I give these long answers, because it's just all these words that, so please, if it gets too long,
No, that's really cool. And yeah, there's more to get into. A couple things I was reminded of. First was that I think that's really neat, that journey, and something I'm passionate about is meaningful work. And I think we have like a crisis in our world of non-meaningful work. Like it is insidious, I think, and the level of really sickness, like you said, that it causes. I mean, if you've got something that dominates your life on the in the time, just in the time, and then I mean, then there's the the emotional commitment, the stress, and then the effect of that on the family. It's huge. So I think that's interesting. There's a guy I follow, and I was listening to his story yesterday. He worked at Amazon. He was a software developer, and he talked about deciding to leave, and he was making $500,000 a year. But he talked about that process of having to reevaluate by separating money from value. And he started to realize that as long as he was valuing the job based on that salary, he would never leave. But when he separated it and said, what is my life like, he said it was only in doing that, and it was very difficult, that he was able to leave. So I just think it was a tangible example of what you just said. And I think maybe more and more people are going through that. So I think that's really neat.
I think absolutely. I think this crisis, there's a huge crisis of work right now. And again, I think what's been going on over the last 2 years is that some things that were not in sync, or things that were a little bit problematic or before, it's just become magnified. So if you were a little bit tired of your work 2 years ago, you're so tired of your work now, right? So, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's like we're being pushed towards, I think and I sense that myself, we're being pushed towards truth, authenticity, love, all these good things. We're being, it's like the universe is kind of pushing us towards this. And the more you can let go and go with this movement, the sooner you're going to go into like this bright future that I think we're moving into. And the more you resist it, the more you go into fear mode and say, oh, if I quit my work, what am I going to do then? And how am I going to feed my family? And how all this kind of stuff. The more you kind of, it's just going to be harder. It's because the universe is not giving up on you. It's just going to, so you're not understanding it. When I push you this hard, then I'm just going to push you this hard. Do you understand it now? Do you understand now? Oh, and then bang. That's what it, and you see that with people, like people who, if they don't listen to their heart, they become sick. Some of them even die. Like, so yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I love that, and I believe that as well. But it's neat because, like you said, this has been turned up over the past 2 years, but now we very much have people, I think, clinging to, like you said, kind of clinging to the security or maybe the older ways. But I mean, you're not just talking this talk. I mean, you spoke very candidly about being let go from your job, so you're very much living in this transition. You seem quite at peace with it. So I just love to hear a bit, about how how you are kind of experiencing that on a kind of a personal level too. Like
I'm
this
happy
is
to
not
share
just
that.
philosophy.
No.
Real
I'm
life.
happy to share this. I will say this. I think it's very important to say, and I said this in the beginning, I will say it again. For the past 12 years, I've had the most amazing job in the world. I've had great colleagues. I've had great management. They let me do what I wanted to. I've had amazing students. So I'm so grateful. So none of what I'm going to say now is a critique of any of those personally. At the same time, I've had this growing feeling that why is it that with all these great people, great colleagues, great students, great human beings, why is it that there's still this growing sense there's something wrong? And I think the reason is what I've come to is that what has happened over the course of, I was going to say 100, I don't know, a long time, is that we've substituted spirit with system. So we don't really, teaching and research should be carried by a spirit, the spirit of truth, spirit of enlightenment, spirit of curiosity, all those kinds of spirits. But they've been kind of, I don't know what's happened, but it's been taken over by a system. So everything is run by a system. So I see my colleagues and like, just one thing, if you knew the amount of time that people in universities spend on writing papers that they know no one is going to read them, no one, because they're not written for human beings, they're written for the system. So the only thing that reads them is the system. They're not read by any human beings. It's actually, we can laugh about it, but it's sad, and it makes people unhappy, and it makes them sick. So anyway, so that's kind of been growing in me, this thing, and also, especially also with my students. And I'm in charge of that, so I don't know why I can't. But I'm looking at these students, and then I kind of feel, why is it that, of course we connect, but I just feel that there's so many more opportunities of things we could do together, and we're not using that potential. It's not being activated. It's not being realized, and that's been growing in me. And so, fortunately, or what's happened now is that it's then coincided with this Corona thing, and I've been, let's just call it skeptical right from the get-go. And I don't wear a mask. I've been tested once, almost 2 years ago. And yeah, I'm not gonna do that either. And it's just, I just feel that in my body. I mean, the mask was just like, no, am I gonna wear it? No, I'm not. It's just like, no question. No question, like, yeah. So I've had that sense, and of course, and then I've seen this, my system. I've seen the system. I remember, I get a little bit emotional. I remember, I think this was a year and a half ago, or I can't remember. They built tents. They put up tents on campus for students to go and get tested. I cried when I saw that. I cried. And I could, and I could feel I can't interact with this. And then it's only until quite recently that I've been put in a situation where I actually was in a situation where in order for my students to get into my classroom, they would have to show a Corona passport, because we had online teaching and so forth. And I know how to navigate these things. So I can do whatever. I can travel, I do whatever I want to without these things, because I know how it works. But the students don't. So I don't want to participate in a system that kind of forces them, or even just does it in this sneaky, cowardly way. You know how it works. I'm not going to play with it. So I said that to my boss and my students, and then all hell broke loose. And then now they are letting me go. And of course, on the one hand, it's illegitimate. It's illegal what they're doing. And but having said that, I can also see, I can feel in my body, I'm here in my summer house, and And I know the university, it's an old system. It's like the banking system. It's an old system, and it's dying. So in a way, I'm also thankful that they're kind of saying, okay, you need to move on, Ole. And it's just like the guy you were referring to, Ben. It's very difficult to leave the university because you can get paid a lot of money for not doing very much. So it's very difficult to leave. And I couldn't do that really, or apparently. So the system kind of, as like a gesture of gratitude or they kind of, pushed me out, or at least that's what it looks like now. And I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm gonna do something really great. I know that. So yeah, again, a very long, a very long answer to what you asked.
Long, but very beautiful as well. Oh, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Benny.
No, I was gonna say I'll echo that, and maybe this is a different topic, but I love how you talk about how you feel things. Like something I've just been very interested in and trying to cultivate more is my own intuition and trusting myself. And well, a few things, first of all, why are you different? What you just said is not what most of the tenured professors at universities are saying at all. And so I'm wondering, how did you maintain that or identify that kind of truth for yourself? And then also, I just feel like so many people don't have that. I mean, yeah, it's weird.
There was I came across a quote by a philosopher, Henri Bergson, a French guy. He's 100 years old. And he said something about a spiritual immune system. And it means that if you have a strong, healthy spiritual immune system, it's gonna, if there's like an untruth, something that's not true, your spiritual immune system kind of kicks in and it expels it, or it creates antibodies, and then it kind of kills off this virus of untruth. And I think I've had my spiritual immune system. I probably always had quite a strong spiritual immune system. I don't want to, but I just, if something is, it's very, 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 very difficult, as in impossible, for me to tolerate something that's not true. And if people lie to me or something, I just, and I sense it immediately. But I've also had it trained over, just like our natural immune system. That's why it's so important that we get all these vira that we're exposed to them, because then we kind of develop our natural immune system. So, and one of the things that's developed my natural immune system was my study of money. So I kind of came across this question. I realized I don't know what money is. This was just after the financial crisis. I don't know what money is. Then I looked into an economics textbook. Then I realized, and I looked at their theory of money and I said, I still don't know what money is, but I know it's not that, because this doesn't make sense. And then I looked into all kinds of other stuff. And then I found out this mechanism by which banks create money. And that kind of changed my whole perspective on economics and how everything worked. And I was also like, why did nobody tell me this before? Why? How can we talk about a financial crisis and yet we don't know where money comes from? It's absurd. So that kind of, and so I saw how I got this experience of realizing something which was just completely different from what everyone else, not everyone, of course there was others, but what the mainstream kind of said. And I realized this, and then I held on to it, and then gradually the mainstream changed. So now this sort of theory or this mechanism about how banks create money has become mainstream. So I've kind of been in that process. And I've also had other experiences with this. So kind of when this Corona thing came, I kind of hit the ground running in a sense. I was like, They're not asking where this doesn't make sense. I could kind of sense that. And I've seen before how the whole system, how it's possible for the whole system to like say one thing and then the truth be something else. I'm also into conspiracy theories. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And right now my approach to conspiracy, if I hear a new conspiracy theory, I'll still be sort of skeptical, but my starting point is, yeah, they're probably right. And then I'll start looking into it. Like, yeah, let's assume they're probably right that the world is flat, and then I'll sort of look into it from there. So, that's I think that's kind of and the way universities work, that when universities were transformed from being carried by spirit of curiosity and enlightenment and all this, and changed into becoming systems of research, systems of education. That's also when the way to excel in these was to conform to the system. That's what the system likes you to conform to the system. So it's kind of rewarding that conformity, which also means that, how can I put this? Because as I said, I have great colleagues. I really have great colleagues, but I will say this: some of the greatest minds and most interesting philosophers I've met in my life have never set their foot at the university. Because they're like free thinkers, so they don't fit in. And the system can't recognize them. You don't fit into these. So I guess my I guess I have some of that spirit of free thinking. And then I will say this, I mean, again, I'm so grateful for my university. I mean, that they could kind of stand me for 12 years, and they've so it's not like they've given me so much. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's helpful, and I appreciate. Yeah, it's a learning process as well as I think it's innate, for all of us at some level, but then coming in contact with these things, just like you said, with our real immune systems, I think there's a similar process that unfolds.
Maybe I can add one. When you said this, Ben, when you said this thing about you sort of training your intuition, it really made me happy, because that's where everyone needs to move right now. Trust your intuition, and the world is helping us do that. Because what's happening right now is that all the systems, all the grand narratives, all is falling apart. So people are being forced into, like, they will listen to some politician or some health Fauci or whoever, and then you must take the vaccine. And then the next week, the vaccine doesn't work. And then the week after, you must take the booster. And the week after, the booster doesn't work. So people are like sort of, and in a way, you can say this is tyranny. And yeah, it is. But maybe there's a meaning to it. It's because what Fauci is really saying is, don't trust me, trust your intuition. Don't trust me, trust your intuition. Don't trust me, trust you. And just like, before with the job where they were like ending, Fauci's doing the same thing. He's saying stuff that is becoming more and more and more absurd. But what the world wants with this is that it wants to force people. They want to make them so confused that they kind of think, I can't take this. I'll turn off the television, and then I'll just feel my heart. What does my heart tell me? That's where we're all gonna end, I think, or I hope everyone is gonna end there. And I know that's where the universe, it kind of wants us to push us in that direction. And then some people are slow learners. So it's gonna be a little hard for some people. That's what the phase we're moving into now, is that, I mean, just talking to you guys, you're free thinkers as well. I can sense that. I can see it. Like, yeah. So I'm sure you've learned that it's this over a long sort of period of time, right? But what you've learned over the course of 10 years or 12 or whatever, 20, I don't know how long, some people will be forced into a process where they're going to learn that in the space of 1 month. And that's what's going to happen in this year. That's what's happening right now, and it's going to accelerate. It's going to happen over the next months, because everything is just going to be chaotic for people. Like, so they'll be forced into this. Some people are going to go insane because they can't take it. But others will come out in the other end and be like, wow, now I'm awake. Now I can feel my heart. Yeah, now let's move. I think that's what's going to happen. Or that is, I know my heart, I know that's what's going to happen. And you're way ahead of the curve, Ben, and I'm sure you are too, Peter. That's really good. That's just amazing.
Yeah. That was really great to hear it. I mean, and hear someone like talking about it as well, because sometimes, like, the problem with your heart and your intuition is sometimes you just have like a hard time explaining it and communicating, and then someone's like, well, there's peer-reviewed myocarditis 99%, look at this graph, and then you're like,
Yeah.
So yeah, like, just kind of feeling yourself, I guess, in that space where you're surrounded by different systems, like you said.
Yeah.
And then when you were talking, I was also thinking about how, like, I don't know, I'm finishing a master's right now. And it's kind of in, I guess you'd say, the system for a while there. And like, a lot of my courses, a lot of the times it was just like, like I need to be talking, like this is just all going, a lot of it against how I feel and what I think. And then when I didn't, it would be like, you let yourself down, you let everyone else down because you didn't say what you thought, even if what I said wasn't like the truth or whatever. It's like, at least I was thinking it and feeling it, so I should have expressed myself maybe in some way. And I noticed even during my bachelor's, a lot of the people I know, this might go into like what you're talking about, what it means to be a man, because I would say I probably have more close guy friends than I do have close friends who are girls. And there's just this like restlessness amongst us, I think is a good word for it. And it relates back to like feeling, I think, where everyone was like, I have to do something, but I have no idea what I have to do. And I feel that I have to do something, and I want to trust my gut, but then I'm trying to be responsible and work to support a family and this stuff. So it seems like this bit of push and pull there as well.
How old are you, Peter?
I'm 27. I just turned 27. Yeah.
You're good to go. Like, the way you talk, I'm like, what's your father's name?
Chris.
He's proud of you, I think. No, both of you, I think. No, honestly.
He is.
And it's a bit of a question, but it's like I know the answer, but he's proud of you, isn't he?
Yes, I would say so. He's a good man as well. So
say again.
So he's a very good man as well. So we're lucky.
I can feel that. I can feel it. Feel it. So I'm just I don't know why I would be worried about you. I'm not. I would, when I look at you, Peter, you're gonna be fine. You're well into the future already. You'll be fine. And part of this process, part of what's happening right now, is that there's actually, now I've written this book about being a man, and I like men. I like masculinity. I think it's great, and but I also like women, and I also really appreciate femininity. And I think actually what we're doing, what's happening right now, is that all of us, men as well as women, we need to cultivate our something that's a little bit more feminine in us. So like Ben, the intuition you talked about, and Peter, what you mentioned about sort of not being feeling something, but not being able to fully explain it. That's a feminine quality, and it's a good quality. And we all need to cultivate that. And part of this not being able to explain is also not being able to predict. So I feel this is right, or I feel this is wrong. I feel that my current job is wrong, but I can't explain, I can't present like here's my plan for where I'm going. I can't do that. And then, but once, if you really sort of open up to this feminine quality and trusting your intuition, you say, now I let go of all control, because I just go with that. And then I trust that that when I jump, the universe is going to catch me. And it's not an easy move. It's not an easy move. I know this. And as men, we're like taught to, you need to know where you're going to go, and you need to have a strategy and goals and do. And there's qualities to that as well, but that's not where we are now. Also because we're moving into, I have two sons with two different women. And what amazes me about how do women know? How do women know what to do with a baby? Like they give birth and then it comes out and then they kind of know what to do. And I'm like, what the? How do you know this? And it just, they do it with such ease. And I'm like, what the? How? Yeah, right. So, but it's like, so they go through this process of getting pregnant, and but the whole thing goes, and then it comes. And in a way, they trust this process, and then they trust that when it comes out, they know what to do with it. And that's kind of also, we are also, just like when you become a parent, you kind of move into something you don't know what is. You have vague ideas, but you don't really know it. And that's the same thing that's going on with all of us right now, that we're sort of, it's like there's a new world that's being born right now as we speak. And we don't know what this world looks like, and we don't know what we are going to do in this world. We don't know what's a job, or we don't know anything. So, but I will say this, and I know it's easy to say, but it's difficult to do, is just find a way to trust the universe that you'll be fine. That if you just let go or go with your heart, you're going to end up exactly where you're going to be. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. And I very much agree too. A couple comments. One is that, so there's a bit of background noise here.
That's okay. Yeah.
But the one is that I'm totally with you on that trusting piece. And I think so many of these problems and the reliance onto the systems and forgetting about the spirit, like I witnessed that in the education system, where I was kind of trained to be a teacher in our system. And I realized that fundamentally we no longer trusted that kids would actually learn on their own, that they would actually be curious, that they would direct themselves. And it was like we had overstepped that so far that even though we had all this research, it was kind of absurd. So we had all this research to show the best ways of doing it, and yet we're kind of fundamentally denying that process happen, even like for kids, which I think is very wrong. But on another, I had one other thing to jump in there and add. You were talking about yes, trusting, and I think a kind of a transition I've been going through is for a while I was very focused on tactics. It was all like the tactical of how to do things, and that is important. And we talk about that on this podcast, routines or ways of improving yourself. But I think kind of like the university, if you lose the spirit and only have the tactics, then you kind of end up with this, just like Fauci, like do this, do that, kind of do, and you can be obsessed with the tactics and lose that kind of that spirit, which is also that that intuition. So yeah, I loved what you said about that.
I think what the feminine is good at is having this feeling, this sense that there's something wrong. That's also what you're seeing right now in this whole Corona thing that's going on. Like there's men and women in all this, but it's my impression that there's more women than men. There's this sort of motherly or even sort of grandmotherly sense of, I don't understand the statistics of this. I don't understand all this stuff. It's not, but I can sense in my female heart and stomach and womb and wherever they tap there that there's something wrong here. They have this, and it's such a strong. It's so strong. I love it when I see it. And I think us as men, we should. We need to learn something there, and also learn to let go of our, as you said, as our tactics. I think we can. On the one hand, we should train. We should use our tactics to train some skills, like do stuff that will train our heart, like do meditation or whatever. There's thousands of things you can do, breath work, whatever. So do that. But then also, just trust moving into this. Now let go of the tactics. Now just trust that. Right now I'm in this. I have to navigate this. All the journalists are calling, and I have to interact with my employer, all this kind of stuff. And I just take it one day at a time. So I just trust. Well, tomorrow, whatever comes up, I will know by then what to do. So, and that's a skill you need to also cultivate. So.
That's so like important. I know it's funny. I mean, I'm, like I said, just 27, but you go through different times in your life, and one, I guess, historical figure that has been really, I'd say, one of the most influential for me was Saint Francis, who was like the most like that. Like just, I don't know if you know Saint Francis of Assisi. It's kind of, anyway, he's a guy who's just a very like foolish man, but just left. Even I think he took all his clothes off at one point and was just like, I'm now naked.
Yeah, the monk or the
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's time like I've traveled as well, and there's times in my life where I've just been, in a foreign country and just kind of like that, like, now I'm naked and I'm just gonna, if there's a door open here, I'm gonna go in here and meditate, and then if there's a mountain to climb here, I'm going to try and climb it. And you still do very difficult things. It's not a lazy state of being, but it's a very like fulfilling. Like there's value and meaning there in a weird way that at other times you try and stick to the system and you're really trying to get your daily duties done, and you get a little bit lost and just a little bit
one thing I've discovered, and one thing I am discovering right now on a daily basis, is that once you start letting go, you also discover that a lot of the things that you thought you really needed, that, I need to do this not to get this, I need this, I need that. You kind of, when you let go, you find out, no, I don't need that. I don't need this. I don't need that. I actually only need a few things, very simple things maybe, right? So we need a lot less than we think we need. That's also part of, that's how the system gets us going. It's by sort of putting into our head that we need all this stuff, right? You need to do this, you need to do that. I'm so happy to hear, Ben, that you are a teacher. There's going to be a need for teachers. Like there's always a need for teachers, and there will be a need for teachers in the future as well. So one of the things I've been thinking about in terms of the university is that I have this feeling that what we're doing to the students is producing this constant sense of being behind. Even the really the top students, they still have this sense of, there's still this book I didn't read, and there's still this thing that I didn't. So there's this constant sense of lack, and that's what the system wants. It wants you to be in this perpetual sense of lack, and because then the system can say to you, you lack this. You just need to do this thing that I am. Then you will get it, right? And then we do this, and then but you still need to do this and this and this. But once we check out of the systems, and we do that by figuring out, no, I don't need your exam paper, for instance. I don't need that. I don't need your money. I don't need you this. Then you kind of check into something and you discover that you don't really need a lot. And then what happens then is that you become sovereign. And that's the greatest feeling in the world. You become sovereign because you don't depend on the system. And you sort of disconnect. The thing about systems is also they don't, the difference, there's many differences, but one of the key differences between human beings and systems is that human beings, they have their own life force. We have our own life energy. We generate energy. Systems, they don't generate any energy. So they depend on the human beings. They're sucking our life energy. So they need to and they do that by sort of producing this sense of, oh, if you want to get a good job, you need to get an exam. And in order to get an exam, you need to do what I say. And you need to feel like this. And then they, oh, yeah. Please, here's my life energy. And will you please give me an exam paper back? Maybe I will. And that's how the system works. And then when we start checking out of that, the system panics. It's like, oh, where am I going to get my life energy? If all the human beings check out, oh no, the system says. I remember a year and a half ago in this Corona, I gave a lecture to my students. I'm not sure I don't know what they made of it. Anyway, if they caught it, or I think some of them did. They probably, anyway, also, I said to them, there's two viruses. There's COVID-19 and then there's Corona. COVID-19 is the one that makes you cough, and it's also the one they talk about on television, and it's the one you get tested for, and so forth. But the other, and it attacks human beings. But there's another virus, which is called Corona. And Corona, I looked it up in the dictionary, what Corona means. First of all, Corona means crown. And then I looked that up in the dictionary. And you know what it says? Crown is the symbol of sovereignty. So the coronavirus, it's not dangerous for human beings, but it's very dangerous for the systems. Because when the human beings, if the human beings get the coronavirus, they become sovereign. And then they disconnect from the system. And then the system can't suck their energy. And then the system dies. So that's what this whole thing has been. What's been going on for the last 2 years is a battle between these two viruses, the COVID-19 virus and the coronavirus. And guess who's winning? Guess who's winning? The coronavirus. So everyone is waking up to sovereignty now. It's gonna be, for some people, it's gonna be it's a bumpy ride for everyone, right? But and that's why the systems are panicking. They know, oh no, we're losing the energy. They're becoming sovereign. And what you said about the kids, Ben, like we should trust when children are born, they're born with all they can kind of when they come out, they can shit, they can pee, they can eat, they can kind of do what's necessary. But then we have this idea, yes, they have all these, but when they turn 6 years old, then they don't have any more natural systems to kind of get what they need. So we need to tell them what they need. And no, we can just trust them. Trust that they've been given all the competences they need in order to learn, get what they need to learn. So we should just trust their natural curiosity and all that. And that's what the future of education is going to look like. That's going to be, I don't know even if I want to call them systems, but they're going to be, it's going to be something, education in the future is going to be something that's not working against the nature of kids, but it's working with the nature of kids. Just like the future of medicine is not going to be injections that work against the natural immune system of human beings, but works with the natural healing capabilities of human beings. That's what the future is gonna look like. I'm on my high horse here. I can sense it. Ooh. and I will excuse, I haven't talked to human beings for the whole day, so I'm just offloading all of it onto
It's
you.
okay. It's great. It's great. I'm curious, was that sort of Corona COVID thing, is that your idea, or is that something you've kind of learned about?
I've learned about it in my heart. So I have it. My heart told me about it. My heart told my head about it. And now my head is telling you about it.
Gotcha.
So I got it from the heart. I love the fact that, and I've said this, I say this to my students, what used to be my students. I get a little bit emotional here.
Take your time.
So I say to my students that philosophy, so philo, the word philo, it comes from Greek and it means love. It means love. So that's what philosophy should be about. And we know love is in the heart, right? We think philosophy is all about being in the head and being in the books. It's not. It's about being in the heart. So that's kind of where that's what we need to return to. Being in the heart, and then that will guide us to wherever we need to go. Yeah. I lost the thread a little bit here. Was there a question?
Great.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And
yeah.
The only thing I want to kind of follow up with was maybe, and like you said, there's thousands of things you can do, but kind of your take or your recommendations or your thoughts on people leaning into that heart and or that sovereignty and opening the door to that. What would you how would you frame that for people who want to do that?
I think you need to find some kind of spiritual practice that you can do. And it can be like many different, you can pray, you can do meditation, you can do all kinds, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, and you can do something more sort of alternative, or you can do something more traditional like Christianity, and you can mix it, or so I think rather than the whole point of this is that no one is going to tell you, no one is going to, if I were to tell them, yeah, here's what you need to set up your own online business, and then you do this, and then you go on Facebook, and then you like, if I were to, if people were to follow that advice, it wouldn't be sovereign, because they would just be doing, they would be, yeah, I'll check out this system, and then I'll check into this new guy who's super smart, and I'll just, no. Check out of the system and check into your heart and listen to your heart. So you need to find a practice. I don't know, this is gonna sound like tacky, but it's just what comes to me. You need to find a practice of making dates with your heart. Find a place where you can meet your heart. And I think that's so and I've done a lot of stuff. I've done men's work, which was great. I've done meditation. I'm not really good at meditation. I've done family constellations, which has helped me tremendously. Like, it's huge thing to me, and that really gets you into training your intuition and sensibilities. So that's been a really good thing. Yeah.
I'm just curious, what is your tradition? Are you, if you don't mind, like from a religious perspective or philosophic, like, yeah, what is your sort of tradition or spiritual? Are you religious or?
I am religious.
Okay.
And one thing that's happened to me over the course of, it's been going on for a longer time, but especially over the last 2 years, is that this whole thing just moved me closer and closer to to God, to just be upfront with that. And some of it I've sort of found in more, like for instance, family constellation. There's a very, very strong spiritual and also Christian element in that, but also other kinds of practices. And right now I've started going to church.
Oh,
There's this there's a right in the, I said I was moving back to where I come from. There's a little town, and in this little town there's a church, and it's I don't know what you call it, it's called a free church, which means it's not part of it. They don't get money from the government. They just they're sovereign, and they're very sovereign. We are very sovereign. We are so sovereign that we got kicked out of. That was before I had anything, but they at the time they got kicked out of the associations of free churches. So even the free ones kicked them out. So they like sort of, yeah. And when they told me that, I was like, now I know I've come to the right place. It's like being a conspiracy theorist who's kicked out of the association of conspiracy theorists.
yeah.
So yeah. So oops.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
So I'm doing that, and it's and it just gives me so much strength. Like right now with this whole thing going on around me, I'm just like, I'm totally at peace.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's so much strength in that.
Yep. That's awesome. We're Catholic, so there's that's just where some of the stuff we studied, liberal arts, and kind of from the Aristotelian kind of foundation, and then some of the Thomistic stuff in there. So just for a little bit of context, but no, that's really neat to hear how it's kind of developed for you.
I'm just gonna ask this question just out of what's your mother's name?
Leanne.
Leanne. So Leanne
Yes.
and Chris.
Yes.
She's also proud of you. I'm just guessing.
Yes, she is. Yes.
I can see it. I can see it. There's so much.
Say.
Yeah, I'm changing the topic because we started talking about family constellation. It's also something that I've discovered, or that there's so much power in connecting to our heritage, where we come from, like our father and mother, but also kind of what's behind them. Once you check into that, and that's another thing that the systems tend to be working against. They kind of want to, everything your parents taught you is all wrong. Now here's this philosopher, postmodernism. If it's old, it's bad. Only listen to us. Don't listen to your parents. Blah blah blah. All that kind of bullshit. And what it does is that it takes power away from us. It's kind of So, but the system didn't. It wasn't able to disconnect you from your. I can sense that. That's really good. Yeah. No. So.
Well, I got one more here for you. Kind of talk about listening to your heart, and you seem to have found a lot of peace in doing that.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not. I know there's probably crazy amount of struggles you had to go through to get there, but just when you listen to your heart, one of the things, maybe it's just something you're told to stop you from doing it, but is this isolation. And I think Jordan Peterson talks a lot about you bounce things off your environment and the people around you to maintain sanity. And you can kind of tell from their reactions whether you're on the path that gives you a certain, like, you can take some sanity from that. So like when you get super isolated, or if you're getting a lot of like crazy reactions from people around you, one reaction within yourself can be like, I'm insane. If no one else is seeing this, I'm insane. So how do you kind of navigate that? Or have you come across any of that?
It's that's a hard one. It takes training, and I've had years of it's not that, but I've had, because because I have this sort of I'm used to being the only one in a crowd that kind of, or I have this inclination of when everyone, if more than 80% go this direction, I just naturally go this direction. I remember in the, Lars von Trier, the filmmaker, the famous Danish filmmaker. Anyway, he's a famous Danish filmmaker. He's really good. So I think this was in the 90s, he made a TV series called Riget, I guess. It was about a hospital. And everyone was like, oh, this is so good. And it was so popular. And I just felt, ooh, I don't want to see that. So I went the other way. I was wrong, actually. It was actually really good. It turned out it was really good. So that's just to give an example where I was wrong. But it's just to say that it's very natural to me to kind of be in that space. And of course, you shouldn't do it just out of, oh, I want to be. You should, because you feel like going that way. So anyway, so I'm kind of I'm used to that, and I'm also to me it doesn't matter what a lot of people think of me. What does matter is what a few people that I trust think about me, or how, yeah. So I will ask, or it's not like I will talk to, if I'm making a decision, I will talk to other people, sort of, but and then I don't necessarily do what they say, but it's kind of. So I don't know if that answers your question. It's a tough one, especially if you're young. It's difficult, that one. But again, I think now the universe is helping us, because now everyone is crazy. Like now Fauci is crazy. He's saying insane stuff. So this thing about, oh, it's kind of falling apart. So I think some of that is being taken away now. I don't know if that entirely. I will say a little bit about, just because you mentioned Jordan Peterson. I'm still into Jordan Peterson, but I've also come to realize that Jordan Peterson, he's very much to the masculine side. It's very rational. It's like, use rationality to make decisions, make plans, do these calculations, blah, blah, blah. I think John Peterson has been very, at the time in history where he kind of became popular, that was what we needed. We needed to kind of say, the masculine is good, here's how we cultivate it. But I also think that where we are now is we need to open up to this other side. And I don't think he's not so good at that. I think that's also part of why he's suffering so much, also in his personal life, is that it's too much kind of in his head in a way. And also, I mean, just he was very late to catch up to this Corona thing that's going on. He was late to kind of, and I think that's because he was kind of too much in his head. He wasn't sort of listening to his heart. So, and this is said with, I mean, I've all the respect and admiration in the world for Jordan Peterson, his courage, and he was the right man at the right time. And and I've seen what he's done for young men, and so I've only good things to say about him. So I just wanted to say that.
No, that's awesome. It's I don't know if it's like an answerable question, like so it's one to sit with, I think.
Can I pitch my money course a little bit?
Yes,
Absolutely.
please do, and then your books as well. Let us know what those are too.
I'm more I've talked a lot about my books before, so that's kind of out there. But I did a course. It ran in December. It was Peter Lindbergh from the store who kind of pushed me into it, and I'm so grateful for him that he did that. So we did it with 12 participants in December. And what I wanted to do with the course was to combine all the things I knew about banking and cryptocurrencies and all that with family constellations, systemic constellations. And because I've been involved in, that's something we haven't talked so much. I've not only academically, but also politically, I've been involved with money. So I helped set up, or I founded with other people a monetary reform organization called Gode Penge. I also left it at a time. That's another story. But anyway, but I think what I found was that realize it's not enough in order to change the money system. It's not enough to just convince people like rationally this would be a good idea. You need to also engage their hearts. And I also see it when I teach. It's like, yes, you can. I tell my students all these things about how the banking system works and doesn't work, but there's also another. There's a missing piece, and that has to do with our own relationship to money. And that's a very existential thing, because money is such a fundamental thing in our lives. It has to do with our exchange. It's actually about how we exchange with other people. So it's a very fundamental, and I don't want to say too simplistic, but there's something about the way we relate to money sometimes reflects the way we relate to our mother, because where our relationship to our mother, that's our primary relationship, where we learn about giving and taking. She's kind of giving you all this kind of like everything, the life, the survival, all this kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where we learn that. And then we take that into our relationship with money. It's very simplistic. It's more, but anyway, so and we sometimes we think, oh, sovereignty comes from getting enough money so you can just say fuck the system. But we all know examples of people who have all the money in the world and still they're kind of slaves to money, and that's because their own personal relationship to money hasn't been properly sort of calibrated. So I wanted to bring that into the course. So what the course does is that it combines, we do what is called systemic constellations with money, and then we combine that with how does the banking system work, and also cryptocurrencies and something about the future. And I also throw in a little bit of astrology and some conspiracy theories. So everything I like just in one huge package. And I will say, I don't know how, I mean, the 3 days, it was like, it's a 9-hour course divided over 3 days. So there's and I just put it up on YouTube. So you can do the course. It is nine sessions of about 1 hour each, or 50 minutes each. So if people are interested in that, I highly recommend that they go, and we can put the link there. And in the spirit of the new economy, I'm offering it as a gift. And then if people feel called to make a donation to me, I'm happy. And if you just want to watch it, that's also perfectly fine. So, and I'm out of a job, but don't feel sorry for me. I'm fine. I'll be fine even without you. Yeah. Anyway, whatever. Donate or don't donate. Do whatever you feel called to do. Yeah. So So the course is there, and it was amazing. And I'm curious to see. I know that for us that were doing it live, it was really special. And I'm curious to see how much of that magic kind of translates into the recorded version. But I'm sure a lot of it does. Yeah.
No, that's great. It sounds super interesting. So we'll definitely. Well, I want to check it out. And
yeah, and it's called What the Fuck is Money Anyway? It was Peter Limburg. I think he has like a background in the corporate world, so he wanted to put the fuck in there. So so it's there, and yeah.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, some of your wisdom. Yeah, we'll link up the course, and I'm sure people will want to learn more about you and what you've created. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks to you, Ola, Ben, and Peter.
It's been, I'd love to, maybe in a year or so, we'll have you back on, Ola, and just catch
see what you
up
did
with what's going on.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
Maybe
or sooner.
Maybe I just did a total deroute. I'm an alcoholic, and the beard is all over the place, and I'm miserable, and this stuff about checking into your heart. So will you promise that even if I'm an alcoholic in a year and my life, you'll still have me on?
Yeah. Yes.
You make that
yes.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
fine, good. Yeah.
Well, all the best with the new, with whatever happens to new endeavors. And yes, I have a feeling you'll land on your feet.
I'm standing
So-
on my feet, or I'm already standing on my feet. So, but thank you. Yeah, thanks. And yeah, and I just want to say to you, what was your, so it's Cassie, and what was your father's name?
Oh, sorry. It's Leanne and Chris was the father.
Leanne and Chris.
Yeah.
Leanne and Chris. If I were Leanne and Chris or any one of them, I would just be 0% worried about you. I would think, oh, my boys, they just. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Is there more
Thank
to the
you.
Cockery family? Do you have
Yes.
like
Yes.
what do you have?
There's 8 of us.
What? Like you're 8? Holy smokes! Wow!
Yeah.
Wow!
Yeah.
Your mother, she's amazing. I'm
She
just
is.
saying, out of 8 kids.
Yeah.
I've written 8 books, and she's created 8 human beings. It's like just how, yeah. It's like even just one is like, wow. Holy! And where do you fit in the order?
I'm number 3. So 3
And you're
down.
and Peter, what are you?
Yeah, number 4. Yeah, I go by number 4 sometimes. No.
Wow. So give my best to your mom and your dad, and tell them that an expert in money says that, and I have the research to back that both of you are great men. And that's all honor to you, to her, and your father as well. So say that to them, both of them.
We will. That's very
Yeah.
kind. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
Thanks,
so much
Ole.
for coming on. Yep.
Yeah.
All
See
the
you.
best. Take care.